Welcome to today's show. My name is John. As always, you can subscribe to the show on iTunes or follow the links to social media in the podcast show notes. You can also go to snarkymoviereviews.com to read notes, bios, and other random movie thoughts. Remember, this show is completely free and independent. All that I ask is that you jump over to Apple Podcast and give me a review. I hope everybody's having a good new year so far. I have dodged the flu, but you may hear a little bit of it left in my voice, so we'll deal with that today, the husky romantic voice. Today's movie is Cast a Giant Shadow, 1966. I literally love this movie because it has two things that I want from all movies that I watch. One, the characters are faced with overwhelming odds, and two, they don't sit around crying, they get up and go to work on the problem. This is a super fictionalized version of the formation of the State of Israel. It's a lot of fun to watch and it has a lot of star power. Many show veterans are in the movie, so let's get going. Actors.
Right, and I'm a Shakespearean actor.
Yul Brynner played Asher Goen, based on the eye patch-wearing Moshe Dayan. Brynner was covered in episode 68, The Buccaneers, 1958. John Wayne played the role of General Mike Randolph. Wayne was only in the movie for a bit. Wayne was first covered in Episode 2, Chisholm, 1970. James Donald played Israeli Major Safir. Donald was covered in Episode 18, The Vikings, 1958. You may know him from the end of The Bridge on the River Kwai. Madness, madness, it's all madness. Luther Adler played Jacob Zion as he channeled David Ben-Gurion with teased-out hair. Adler was covered in Episode 48, DOA, 1950. And remember that this former Yiddish actor played Hitler 3 times, as well as the head of the Jewish state. Keying on the David Ben-Gurion hair, they had also asked fellow wild hair wearer Albert Einstein to be the first president of Israel. Kirk Douglas was in the role of Colonel David Mickey Marcus, an American officer that goes to work for the State of Israel. Douglas was first covered in Episode 4, In Harm's Way, 1965. Senta Berger played Magda Simon, a sexually liberated fighter. Basically the only character she played in 3 American war movies. Berger was first covered in Episode 105, The Glory Guys, 1965. Frank Sinatra played pilot Vince Talmadge in a very small part. Sinatra was covered in Episode 112, From Here to Eternity, 1953. Angie Dickenson played Emma Marcus, the lonely wife of Colonel Marcus. Dickinson was born in North Dakota in 1931. When Angie was 11, her family moved to California. After high school, Angie won some beauty contests and went to college. After college, she worked in an airplane factory until 1953, when she placed second in the local Miss America contest. Later that year, she won the NBC beauty contest and started appearing on variety shows. She started doing odd bits in films for MGM in 1954. Her first big break came in Rio Bravo, 1959, with Dean Martin and John Wayne, with Dickinson playing the role of Feathers. Of course, this is an early version of El Dorado, 1967. Angie played the wife in Ocean's 11, 1960, that starred the Rat Pack, and it did not have Matt Damon in it. She had a small role as a military wife in Cast a Giant Shadow, 1966. Angie had the title role in the rollicking adventure film Big Bad Mama, 1974. That same year, she started in a television show that would make her famous, Policewoman, 1974 to 78, where she played the smoking hot Pepper Anderson. Angie continued her film work with movies like Dressed to Kill, 1980, co-starring Michael Caine. She reprised her role Wilma in Big Bad Mama, 1987. As she aged, Dickinson continued to make movies playing mothers and grandmothers in films like Duets 2000 and Pay It Forward 2000. She even had a nice cameo in Ocean's 11 2001. Dickinson is still alive but is no longer working. Topol, another one of those one-name people, played Bedouin Abu Ibn Qadar. Topol was born in Tel Aviv in 1935. He's only known for a few movies, but he is very recognizable. Topol was the main character in Fiddler on the Roof, 1971, a smuggler in the Bond film For Your Eyes Only, 1981, and a mad scientist in Flash Gordon, 1980. Topol is still living in Israel. Story.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
This is a super highly fictionalized account of the birth of the nation of Israel following World War II, and one of the men that helped, Colonel David Mickey Marcus, who commanded part of the Israeli Defense Force during the Arab-Israeli War of 1948. The credits for the film roll and show scenes from West Point in World War II. The movie begins in the year 1947. Now released from active duty and in the Army Reserve, lawyer David Mickey Marcus, Kirk Douglas, is followed by a Haganah, Israeli CIA-type agent, Major Safir, James Donaldson. Safir makes contact with Mickey inside Macy's. He says that when Israel declares independence, they will be attacked by 6 Arab nations. They ask Mickey to come as a military advisor. Safir mentions that Mickey is a Jew and should want to help. When Mickey gets home, he tells his wife Emma Marcus, Angie Dickenson, that he is leaving for Palestine. She feels it's a fool's mission and he will die. She flashes back to World War II when he was leaving for D-Day and the invasion of Europe. Colonel Marcus approaches General Randolph, John Wayne, about getting to France. The general refuses to let Mickey go on the initial landing. Undeterred, Mickey joins a stick of paratroopers that were dropped the night before the invasion. When the general lands, he finds Mickey on the ground with the 101st Airborne Division. The general is pissed. A Nazi sniper almost gets Mickey and the general. Damn Nazis. The general has Mickey arrested. They flash back to current times. Emma mocks Mickey and says that they should get a divorce. She doesn't want him to go, but she knows she can't keep him from the war. She asks for a baby. Although she is smoking, they start the process. Mickey goes to the Pentagon and meets with General Randolph. They refuse to allow him to go as an American officer. The general orders him not to go, and Mickey goes as a civilian under the name Michael Stone. He arrives in Palestine in February with independence set for May. Traveling under a fake name, with Major Safir by his side, Mickey is met at the British Customs desk by his, quote, relative Magda Simon, Senta Berger, who kisses him warmly. She also works for the Haganah. As he leaves, the custom officer calls him by his true name and rank. Magda says her husband is an officer in the Palmach, the fighting force of the Haganah, but it's okay if Mickey tries to sleep with her. They get on a bus with young Israelis who immediately start assembling submachine guns. They drop iron plates over the windows and are attacked by Arabs when they pass through a town. Back at the command center, Asher Goen, Yul Brynner shows that Israel is outnumbered 60-1 for the coming fight. Asher doesn't like Mickey because he was primarily a staff officer and lacks military command time. Mickey does a good job explaining that organization wins wars, and that's what he's good at. They are interrupted by news that the British are moving to intercept the refugee ship, the Ascalon. Mickey goes to help. The ship is loaded with refugees from Europe and survivors of the Holocaust. Damn Nazis. The British block the beach with the statement that they are not Gestapo, but laws must be followed. A huge crowd of people run onto the beach to mix with the immigrants. They then decide to exchange clothes. This was most likely done so Senta Berger could be shown in her underwear. The British commander orders a volley of rifle fire over the refugees' heads. They stand firm. He does a countdown to 10, but doesn't order his men to fire. The lieutenant says, "I guess now we'll find out if we're bloody Nazis." The British allow the people to pass. Asher tells Mickey that the refugees are his army. Mickey and Magda go on a mission, and she complains of bad sex with her husband. Mickey flashes back to helping liberate and care for the first concentration camp that they liberated. He takes General Randolph to see the camp and the horrors. When the general sees the camp, he gives Mickey everything he needs from the 3rd Division. Patents instead of the 101st like the patches they are wearing. Anyway, they meet up with Magda's husband and meet a young military commander, Ram. Ram has a rather large chip. They are taken to the Palmach Training Center, which is filled with young, enthusiastic people. Soldiers dressed as Arabs make it into the camp. An Arab Bedouin chieftain, Abu Ibn Qadar, Topol, wants to meet with Mickey about fighting on the Israeli side. Qadar knows Ram from when he was a child. Mickey makes the case against the Hussein family. Qadar tells Ram where a supply camp that can be raided is located. Against his better judgment, Mickey convinces Ram to attack and destroy the supplies. They put together a raid and Mickey goes along. The commandos make it through the wire, but Magda's husband is killed. Using dynamite and Molotov cocktails, the raid is successful. Mickey saves Ram's life and at the same time sees what the determined army can accomplish. Magda finds out her husband is dead. Mickey meets with Jacob Zion, Luther Adler, Minister of Defense for Israel, who is modeled after David Ben-Gurion. Mickey tells him they need to unify command. He also tells him that he served under Patton in World War II, but General Randolph wears a 101st Airborne badge. Mickey writes training and operational manuals and works as an advisor when he wants full command. Back in America, Emma's mother has given her the business about her husband running around with Magda. Emma suddenly has a miscarriage. Mickey joins a convoy to Jerusalem. The convoy is shelled by Arab cannons and some trucks are lost. Magda's truck is temporarily stopped by shell fire. After she loses her driver, she tries to catch up with the convoy. When the truck is trapped, Mickey goes back for her. He shouts her name while she has a breakdown in the truck. In the weakest part of the movie, the Arab attackers mock her by calling her name over and over. Magda, Magda, Magda. Oh, Mickey, I can't take it. Mickey makes it back and gets the truck going. Magda completely breaks down. Finding out about the miscarriage and frustrated by the lack of attention to his ideas, Mickey leaves for New York. Jacob Zion wants him to intercede on behalf of Israel. When Mickey gets home, they have a huge party for him. He gets an invitation from the British Embassy. He goes to the embassy and they give him a medal. The British ambassador asks Mickey to have the Israelis delay their independence and let the British stay. General Randolph is at the embassy and says the U.S. will stand with the Arabs because they have the oil. Then he shames Mickey for coming back. Back in Israel, a plane with arms secretly lands. The pilot is Vince Talmadge, Frank Sinatra, and Mickey is on board as well. They have accepted all of Mickey's recommendations. The government goes ahead with independence even though they know they will be attacked. They receive word that the United States has recognized them officially. General Randolph is back in D.C. monitoring the events. Mickey goes to see Magda and they have a reunion as the crowd celebrates. The air raid sirens go off and the attack begins. Mickey goes to the command center with Asher, Ram, Saphir, and Zion. Mickey convinces them to attack and not fight a defensive war. They take anti-aircraft guns and mount them vertically on half-tracks to attack the Egyptian tanks pouring out of the Sinai. Zion insists that they defend Jerusalem. A jeep force along with the half-tracks hit the tanks just before they arrive at a kibbutz. The jeeps cut down the infantry and the half-tracks work against the tanks. There are a few losses as Talmadge flies air cover in a Piper Cub and drops seltzer bombs to make noise and cause confusion. When Talmadge's machine gun runs out of bullets, he throws it outside the plane and squirts a seltzer bottle at the enemy plane. Talmadge is shot out of the sky. Zion calls Mickey back and lets him know that the Arabs have occupied the town of Latron and Jerusalem is cut off. When the UN ceasefire goes into effect on June 11th, the lines will be frozen and the town will be starved out. They give Mickey overall command of all forces and call him Aloof, General. The situation is so bad that they are sending men directly from the refugee ships into battle. Asher and Ram make a battle plan and Mickey tells him that they would have gotten an A at West Point. They attempt a 4-part attack on the fort over Latron. The commanders are given a strip of cloth for a rank badge. Of course, they don't have any cloth for Mickey. The attack trucks make it into the compound and are using flamethrowers to great effect. However, some of the other attacks are forced back and the trucks are cut off. The Arabs use flamethrowers to destroy the trucks. Although the attack failed, Mickey sees hope because of the bravery of the fighters. Mickey finally uses the term "we" when talking about the Jews. Abu Ibn Qadar comes in and snarkily gives advice on the terrain. He shows them a route where they can move supplies through. Engineer James McAfee, Gordon Jackson, steps up and explains how they will need to use switchbacks to get up the mountain. Mickey gives him a week to build the road using older refugees. The workers are occasionally under attack, but they keep on working. Mickey gets word from his wife that she will give him a divorce. UN inspectors show up to inspect the road. Mickey jumps in one of the trucks and completes the drives, marking the road as opened. The rest of the convoy moves along to Jerusalem. That night, Mickey talks to a guard outside his compound in English because he doesn't speak Hebrew. When he's away, the guard is replaced by a young, nervous guard. Mickey meets Magda in the garden and tells her he is going back to his wife and America. He kisses Magda goodbye and heads back inside. When he approaches the guard, he thinks it's the same one as before. The guard, not understanding English, shoots and kills Mickey. They take his body back down the road in a wooden coffin, and Ram pins a strip of rank on the side. World famous short summary: learn the language. If you enjoyed this week's show, please tell your friends, and if you really want to help, drop over to Apple Podcast and give me a review. If you want to comment, recommend a movie, or just say hi, follow the links in the show notes to my site. Beware the Moors.